The Buddhist Eightfold Path. The Buddha taught that life is filled with suffering, but he also gave a way out of it, the Eightfold Path. It's not a single road you walk once, but more like a wheel with 8 spokes, each one supporting the others, all turning together toward enlightenment. The first part is wisdom. It begins with right view, which means seeing the world as it truly is, not through illusions, greed, or wishful thinking, but with clarity. It's about understanding the 4 noble truths, that suffering exists, that it has causes, and that it can end. Then comes right intention, which is directing your thoughts and energy toward kindness, compassion, and letting go of harmful desires. Together, these 2 shape the way you think and see reality. Next is ethical conduct. It starts with right speech, choosing words that heal instead of hurt. No lies, no gossip, no words meant to tear people down. Then there's right action, which means living ethically, not killing, not stealing, not engaging in harmful behaviors. And then right livelihood, earning your living in a way that doesn't cause suffering, no exploitation, no harm, no destruction. These 3 create the moral foundation that supports the spiritual path. Finally, there's mental discipline. It begins with right effort, the constant practice of replacing negative states of mind with positive ones, letting go of anger and greed, while cultivating peace and generosity. Then comes right mindfulness, the art of living fully in the present moment, aware of your body, thoughts, and emotions without being controlled by them. And lastly, right concentration, which means training the mind through deep meditation until it becomes still, focused, and capable of true insight. Put together, these 8 steps are not rules carved in stone, but practices that weave into every part of life: how you think, how you speak, how you work, and how you meditate. They're the Buddha's complete toolkit for ending suffering and reaching nirvana, enlightenment, the state beyond craving and illusion. Christian mysticism. Christian mysticism is all about going beyond rituals and doctrines to experience God directly. It's not just about believing in God, it's about tasting the divine presence with your own soul. Mystics throughout Christian history have described this path as a journey inward, where prayer, silence, and contemplation open the heart to union with God. At the center of this path is contemplative prayer, a deep, wordless form of prayer where the goal isn't to ask for things, but to simply rest in God's presence. Figures like Saint Teresa of Avila describe this as entering into interior castles of the soul, moving closer and closer to divine light. St. John of the Cross spoke of the dark night of the soul, a painful but necessary purification where the ego dissolves so that God can fill the soul completely. Mysticism in Christianity also embraces visions, ecstasies, and spiritual union. For example, Meister Eckhart, a medieval mystic, spoke of the soul becoming one with God in a state beyond words. For the mystics, salvation is not only something that happens after death, it's a living experience of divine love here and now, but this path isn't meant for isolation. Christian mystics often describe that true union with God naturally leads to compassion and love for others. The deeper the union, the more it spills over into acts of mercy, forgiveness, and service. In their view, enlightenment doesn't separate you from the world, it transforms how you live in it. Christian mysticism is, in many ways, the hidden heart of Christianity, a reminder that beyond churches, dogmas, and debates, the ultimate goal is intimacy with the divine. To the mystics, enlightenment is not a concept, but a relationship, the soul and God becoming one. The Sufi path. Sufism is often called the mystical heart of Islam, a path of love, music, and surrender that aims to bring the soul into direct union with God or Allah. While many see Islam as a religion of law and practice, the Sufis dive deeper, focusing on the inner journey, the hidden truth, and the burning desire to dissolve the self into divine love. The Sufi path is built on the idea of fana, the annihilation of the ego. The self, with its pride and illusions, is seen as a veil between the soul and God. Through devotion, chanting, poetry, and meditation, the Sufi seeks to burn away this veil until nothing remains but the love of Allah. In that emptiness, the soul awakens to Baka, eternal life in God's presence. This path is often guided by a sheikh or spiritual teacher who leads disciples along a journey called the Tariqa, the way. Along this way, Sufis use practices like dhikr, the rhythmic repetition of God's names, or the famous whirling dances of the dervishes, where the spinning body mirrors the soul's rotation around the divine. Music, poetry, and art all become tools of awakening. Perhaps the most famous Sufi voice is the poet Rumi, who spoke of God not as a distant ruler, but as the beloved, the source of all beauty and joy. For the Sufi, enlightenment is not about escaping the world, but about falling in love with the one who created it. Every act, every breath can be an expression of that love. In the end, the Sufi path is about transformation through love. Where other traditions speak of wisdom or discipline, Sufism says, let the fire of love consume you, and in that burning, discover God everywhere. The alchemical path. Alchemy is often remembered as a strange medieval science, people in smoky labs trying to turn lead into gold. But the deeper truth of alchemy is far more mystical. The transformation wasn't just about metals, it was about the soul. The real gold was enlightenment, and the furnace was the human spirit. On the surface, alchemists wrote in coded language about ingredients, crucibles, and strange symbols. But beneath that symbolism was a hidden spiritual path. The lead represented the heavy, base aspects of human nature: greed, ignorance, and ego. The gold was the purified soul, radiant, wise, and united with the divine. The whole process of transmutation was a metaphor for inner transformation. The stages of alchemy reflect this journey. Negredo, or blackening, was the death of the old self, the breakdown of the ego. Albedo, or whitening, symbolized purification and clarity, the washing away of illusions. Rubedo, the reddening, marked the completion, the rebirth of the enlightened self, glowing with divine wisdom. Some even describe this as discovering the philosopher's stone, the secret spark of immortality hidden inside every human being. What makes alchemy so fascinating is that it bridges science, magic, and spirituality. While some worked with flasks and metals, others used prayer, meditation, and inner discipline. Both sought the same thing: the perfection of matter and the perfection of spirit. In the end, the alchemical path is a mirror. Just as base metal can be transformed into gold, so too can a human life be transformed from ignorance into illumination. Enlightenment, in this sense, is not a gift from above. It's the art of refining yourself until the divine light within shines through. The yogic path. In the Hindu tradition, enlightenment isn't seen as one single road, but as a series of different paths, 4 main yogas, or ways, each suited to different kinds of seekers. The word yoga means union, and each of these paths is designed to unite the human soul with the ultimate reality, or Brahman. The first is Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. This is the way of the heart, where the seeker pours all love and longing into God. Through chanting, singing, prayer, and worship, the ego slowly dissolves into divine love. Saints and devotees across the world embody this path. For them, enlightenment is not abstract. It's like falling endlessly in love with the infinite. Then there is Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. This is the way of the philosopher and the thinker. Here, the seeker asks, "Who am I? What is real?" Through self-inquiry and study of sacred texts, ignorance is burned away, revealing the self that is one with everything. It's not about believing in truth, it's about realizing it directly. The third is Karma Yoga, the path of action and service. This is enlightenment through work, but with a twist. Every action is done without attachment to reward. By offering up one's labor, duties, and even struggles to the divine, the heart becomes purified. Its selflessness turned into a spiritual practice, where every task becomes a step toward liberation. Finally, there is Raja Yoga, the path of meditation and discipline. This is the way of the mind. Through breath control, concentration, and deep meditation, the restless thoughts are stilled. The mind becomes clear, focused, and capable of touching the highest states of consciousness. For Raja Yogis, enlightenment comes through inner silence and direct experience. Together, these 4 paths, Bhakti, Jnana, Karma, and Raja, form a complete map to enlightenment. Some choose one, some blend all 4, but the destination is the same: the soul realizing its unity with the eternal. The ascetic path. The ascetic path is one of the oldest and most dramatic roads to enlightenment. It's the way of renunciation, stripping life down to its barest essentials, so the soul can awaken without distraction. Across cultures, from Hindu sadhus to Christian desert fathers to Buddhist monks, ascetics have left behind wealth, comfort, and even family to seek truth in solitude. At its core, asceticism is about discipline. By fasting, maintaining silence, sleeping little, or living in caves and deserts, ascetics believe the body and mind are purified. Every craving that is denied weakens the grip of the ego. Every comfort that is abandoned teaches detachment. The idea is simple: if you let go of the world can no longer chain you. But this path is not just about suffering for its own sake. The renunciations create space, silence in which higher truths can be heard, emptiness where the divine can enter. Monks and hermits often describe visions, deep peace, and powerful insights arising only after years of rigorous discipline. Their enlightenment isn't sudden, it's carved out through endurance and patience. Of course, the ascetic path is extreme and it has its critics. Some say it rejects the beauty of life instead of embracing it. Yet for those who follow it, withdrawal is not about hatred of the world, but about finding what lies beyond it. By stepping away from ordinary life, ascetics hope to discover the eternal. In the end, the ascetic path shows that enlightenment sometimes demands sacrifice, the shedding of desires, comforts, and attachments, until nothing remains but the pure light of spirit. The philosophical path. The philosophical path is the way of the mind, the pursuit of truth through reason, study, and deep questioning. Where mystics look for visions and ascetics turn to discipline, the philosopher asks, What is real? Who am I? What is the ultimate good? Enlightenment on this path comes not through ecstasy or ritual, but through knowledge and insight. This path stretches across cultures. In ancient Greece, philosophers like Socrates and Plato sought wisdom as the highest good, believing that the examined life leads the soul toward truth. In India, Vedantic thinkers asked, what is the self, and how does it relate to Brahman, the absolute reality? In China, Confucius and Lao Tzu explored ethics and harmony as keys to higher understanding. The method is always similar: questioning assumptions, studying sacred texts, and using logic to strip away illusions. By sharpening the mind, the philosopher cuts through falsehood to glimpse what lies beneath appearances. For some, this leads to moral enlightenment, the wisdom to live rightly. For others, it leads to metaphysical realization, seeing the unity behind all things. But philosophy isn't only an intellectual exercise. The great teachers insisted that wisdom must be lived. Socrates drank the poison hemlock rather than betray truth. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius practiced virtue even in power. Eastern philosophers turned their insights into meditation, compassion, or codes of ethics. The idea is that once the mind sees clearly, the life naturally transforms. The philosophical path shows that enlightenment can be a matter of clarity, of replacing confusion with truth and ignorance with understanding. For those drawn to reason, ideas themselves become a ladder, leading the soul closer and closer to the light. The modern path of consciousness exploration. The modern path to enlightenment doesn't always look like ancient temples or dusty scriptures. Instead, it often takes the form of science, psychology, and new ways of exploring the mind. In a world where traditional religion has faded for many, people turn to consciousness itself as the frontier of awakening. One route is through psychology and self-awareness. Thinkers like Carl Jung explored the unconscious mind, believing that by integrating our shadows and archetypes, we move closer to wholeness. Modern mindfulness practices, stripped from their Buddhist roots, now teach millions how to quiet the mind, observe thoughts, and reduce suffering. Another route is science and neuroscience. Researchers study meditation with brain scans, showing how it rewires attention, emotion, and even empathy. For some, enlightenment is seen less as a mystical gift and more as a state the brain can be trained into through discipline and practice. Then there are the more controversial routes, psychedelics and altered states. From ancient shamans using plant medicine to modern studies with psilocybin and DMT, seekers report visions of unity, ego death, and encounters with the divine. While debated, these experiences show that even chemistry can open doors to transcendence. Unlike traditional paths, the modern way doesn't belong to a single culture. It's eclectic, blending meditation apps, therapy, yoga retreats, brain science, and sometimes even technology like virtual reality or biofeedback. The common thread is curiosity, the drive to explore consciousness as the final frontier. The modern path reminds us that enlightenment isn't locked in the past. Whether through psychology, science, or altered states, the search for awakening continues, evolving with every generation, proving that the journey toward light is as endless as human imagination itself.